parallel that if the fruit on the tree is bad, then what conclusion do we come to? The tree is bad. That's why it bore bad fruit. Well, when I look at the tree of a worldly church, what do I conclude? If it's bearing worldly fruit, it's a worldly church. Well, hope has fruit of its own. Where people are led away by every wind and wave of doctrine, it's because they did not know the hope of his calling. The devil knows somehow, of course the devil's not omniscient, but I think the devil knows more than a lot of people would have him to know. The devil knows that people perish where there is no vision. And he also knows that they are destroyed for lack of knowledge. If he can just keep our minds and our hearts in this world, even if we are religious, as long as they're in this world, he will have us. But as soon as I lose my desire for the things of this world, and when my affection is set on things above, my hope is anchored beyond the veil, then the devil has begun to lose his place.
Amen.
Today, hope has been robbed. Hope itself. Hope has been changed. Hope has been redefined. Hope has been ambushed, beaten, and left for dead. Hope has become whatever I want it to be. It's my hope. It's what I wish for, what I'm looking for. It's what I would like to have someday. It's what I would like to do someday. It's become abstract, ambiguous. It's become like a dream. It is, in effect, become my own creation. What I hope for. Hope then has little value. If all I do is hope, then I get nowhere and I accomplish nothing. Hope has been reduced to what might happen or what could happen. Hope has been reduced to unsure possibilities. That's what hope means to a lot of people. This is not what the Word means. This is not what Scripture means. This is what people have made it to mean. I hope to work for myself someday. Don't know if it's going to happen, but that's my hope. I hope to retire early. I hope to buy a house someday. I hope I can go to college. I hope my kids turned out okay. People are left with these shambles that they call hope because they don't know the hope of his calling. That's why they're left with the refuse of what they think of as hope. It's really nothing more than wishes. It's hope so. Hope is the desire and anticipation that gives birth to perseverance and to waiting. This is hope. This is God is the creator of hope, not me or you. Today, hope has become what I want it to be, what you want it to be, what his hope may be different than my hope. But hope is the creation of God, not the creation of man.
Amen.
God gives hope.
Amen.
Hope is the desire that causes perseverance. Hope is anticipation that causes waiting. Hope is the daughter of the promises of God. When God promises, it gives birth to hope. Hope is the expectation of what will happen, not what might happen. Hope is the anticipation of what will happen, not what could happen. It's what will happen. That's why, see, even Solomon knew this. He had hope deferred maketh the heart sick. But when the desire comes, it's the tree of life. He knew. Amen. Hope is definite and concrete. Hope has an absolute object. Hope is not ambiguous. Hope does not reside on a sliding scale of desires, as many people would have it. Hope has a certain end. Hope is the expectation of God doing what he promised he would do. That's why it's concrete. When you have a promise from him who cannot lie, then hope is concrete. Hope is definite. Hope is the expectation of God giving what he promised he would give. Hope is a deep-seated desire for what God has promised and an unwavering patience and endurance until he brings it to pass.
Amen.
Now, the Lord has always said what he would do before he did it. The Lord has, we go to dictionaries to find definitions of words. We go to encyclopedias to find bigger definitions of creations and inventions of people and things like this. Well, the Lord has created his own series of dictionaries and encyclopedias. We call them Genesis through Malachi. If you're ignorant, if any person that is ignorant of Genesis through Malachi is seriously handicapped from understanding the ways of God. Amen. The Lord has always said what he would do before he did it. For everybody to hear, including the devil. This is what gives birth to hope, when God says what he will do before he actually does it. It wouldn't be possible to have hope if God had never said anything. He promised that the seed of the woman would bruise the head of the serpent. And those who heard that were waiting. He promised the children of Abraham would be as the stars of the sky and the sand of the sea. He promised that he would raise up a prophet that the people would hear. He promised that David would never suffer a man to sit on his throne. He promised that a virgin would conceive and would bear a son. The Lord has always indicated what he would do before it comes to pass. And the closer that the fulfillment comes, the more abundant the revelation becomes. In other words, John the Baptist said more than Moses did. And in fact, Moses said more than Abraham did, didn't he? The promise gave birth to hope. People looked for God to work because God promised to work. Hope would not exist. There is no fruit unless there's seed. That's just a simple way of putting it. And the seed is the promise, and the fruit is hope. Abraham waited for a son because God promised him a son. Noah looked for rain because God promised a flood. Joshua and Caleb were ready to go and take the land because God said he would give it to them. And we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth. I love that phrase. We, and Peter puts in between commas, according to his promise. Look for new heavens and a new earth. Who would look for new heavens and a new earth unless God had promised them? I have had people tell me that the earth has always been here and it always will be here, right? No, we're according to his promise. We're looking for new heavens and a new earth. And we're looking because God promised it. God said something about it, and that's what made me look. Hope is what transfers my affection from temporal things to eternal things. Hope draws my heart away from the accursed thing and to the things of God. See, here we have examples of this lived out in the Scriptures. You have Achan, who is in the same camp as Joshua and Caleb, and Joshua and Caleb could care nothing about the wedge of gold and the Babylonian garment, and Achan could care nothing about the land. Now, God had made a promise, and that promise of God bore fruit in Joshua and Caleb and didn't bear fruit in Achan. Achan had no, just think of how foolish this really was. Achan wanted the little things that he could hide in his tent when actually God had promised the whole land. How foolish was that? Amen. It's because Achan was operating without hope. Joshua and Caleb had the hope, and they looked right over the things in Achan's tent in prospect of the whole land. The devil emulates the ways of the Lord. He tries to compel people by offering them something. And in reality, this is really all that Satan can do, is offer you something. Now, once you take it, then the rules change. All the rules change once you take it. But for the child of God, the most he can do, he prowls around as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour.